Hi, welcome to Stir Crazy. I'm Patrick Fogarty. This is the last of the crackers, crackers number 6, and this is our Yuletide flip. So it's a really Christmassy, indulgent, delicate cocktail, and I absolutely love this drink. And so for this drink, you would have popped your cracker and you'll have 2 lovely little bottles. You'll also have a little bag just full of little chocolate beans. Don't eat them. You can save the rest till later, but what we're going to do with this is the very first thing I want you to do is if you've got a little bowl, just basically take that, pop those into there, and then what I've got is a pan just to the side here on my induction hob, and I'm just going to pop those beads in there in a hot pan of water, and I'm just going to melt it down. You can just do this in the microwave, so if you've got a nice little saucer or something like that, just pop it in the microwave for a couple of seconds and it will just melt that chocolate. And what we're going to do is we're going to need a martini glass for this, or a stemmed wine glass or anything like that, and a nice small one's lovely for this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take that rim and just coat the whole rim in chocolate in a minute. While that's just melting down for me, I'm just going to show you what we need for the rest of this drink. So we will need a cocktail shaker for this cocktail, and if you don't have a cocktail shaker you can use something like a little NutriBullet can, jam jar, even Tupperware will do, just something to give it a really good shake to mix all these ingredients up with. The other thing we're going to need today is a lovely big free-range egg. So I've got this lovely organic free-range egg here. The fresher the better, so straight from the supermarket is always really good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack that into my cocktail shaker. So we'll pop that in there like that, and that I'm going to have in a minute and use that in the drink. And I'll explain why these flips are just so indulgent. It's that lovely egg inside it. And so this should be all melting down for me now. I'm just going to give my chocolate a little stir over here just to check if it's melting. It's just starting to melt there. And so while that melts, I'm just going to give it a little bit longer, and then I can line my glass with it. So as I said before, the other things we'll need today is a little bit of ice. We'll need our cocktail glass, and obviously you'll need the ingredients that are in your bottles here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you each of the ingredients that we've got in each of those bottles and talk a little bit about them so you know exactly what's in the drink. So if you want to recreate it at home, you can do. The other thing that's quite nice for this, just as a little bit of an extra garnish, I've got this little mill which has got nutmeg in. You can just get a tiny bit of powdered nutmeg, and sometimes you'll have a nutmeg grater. They'll do just as well. It just gives an extra little pop of Christmassy flavour at the end of it. So I'm just going to bring this off now, and I'm just going to see if all of my butter, lovely white chocolate has melted. It's almost there, so I'm just going to turn that up a little bit just to speed that up a bit. And so what this will do is that once it's melted, it'll allow it to stick to the glass and form a lovely chocolate rim. And you can hear it there bubbling away now on the side here. So what I'm going to do is, in the interim, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we've got here, which is in these lovely bottles. So in our first bottle here, we have 40 millilitres of this lovely Martel VS cognac. So this is basically from the Cognac region in France. It's a brandy, so it's made from grapes, and it is just exquisite. This is one of my favourite brands, Martel, and they do its big brother is called the Martel Cordon Bleu, and it's probably one of my favourite bang for buck cognacs in the world. Its little brother VS is only 2 years old, but he has just got such as much sort of plum, apricot and candied lemon flavours in it. And it's kind of all those Christmas flavours that I want. And what we've done is we've taken a big jar of mincemeat, which is just that lovely Christmas thing we have in mince pies, which is full of dried fruits like raisins, orange peels, lemon peels, sultanas, Christmas spices and cognac, all combined together to give this lovely mincemeat flavour. And we've macerated that in there, and then we've strained out the solids to give you that lovely liquid. So what we have is 40 millilitres of that in our drink. So that's our first drink, and hopefully now I should have a nicely melted chocolate here, and you can kind of see these lovely buttons are all melting up nicely and forming a nice little layer of melted chocolate in my little bowl there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take my glass and I'm going to run the rim round in a circle like that, and it's just going to coat my glass with this lovely melted chocolate, and you can see it there all around the rim now. And I've got this lovely garnish on the glass, and I'm just going to pop that to one side. I've already pre-chilled my glass, so it will set very quickly on that. And so what you can do is just pop your glass in the fridge and it will chill as well beautifully. And so you have a lovely cold glass for this. So as I said, the first ingredient we've got in there is that absolutely delicious Martel VS cognac. And the VS stands for very special. And so the very special connotation basically means it's been aged for a minimum. The youngest cognac in there is 2 years old. The second ingredient we have is from Italy, and it's this beautiful Lazzaroni Amaretto. And so this Amaretto is particularly unique because Lazzaroni are really famous for these biscuits they make, and they are like these little amaretti biscuits, and they're super decadent, and they are made literally from, they grind down the apricot kernels, and what they do is they take those kernels, and what they do is they basically mash them all down and these basically give a lovely almond flavour. They then add sugar and egg white to it, and that's all that's in there. And then they bake them. And so what they do with Lazzaroni Amaretto is they take those biscuits that have been richly roasted, and they basically just put them in alcohol and then let it steep and take all the flavour, and then they strain the solids out and you have this lovely rich liqueur. So that's the second ingredient in bottle number 1. In bottle number 2, what we have is a little bit of a nice bit of cinnamon and spice syrup. So what we've done is we've taken cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, tiny bit of star anise, and we basically put those together. And there's about 15 millilitres of that enriched spice syrup. The last ingredient, which is in bottle number 2, is this. It's a Pedro Ximinez sherry, or PX sherry. And so the lovely thing with PX sherries is that it's the name of a kind of white Spanish wine, and it's most notably from the Montia Morales sort of region. It's a wine varietal, and it's intensely dark, sweet, and sort of raisiny sherry. It's got a real raisin note to it. So I'm just going to put in 15 millilitres of that as well. And this will give us a nice sort of like sherry and raisiny flavour to the drink. So that is essentially what's in bottle 1 and 2. So all you need to do is have in your cocktail shaker a bottle number 1 and 2 together with an egg yolk and white. The whole egg goes in, and then what we're going to do is just add a bit of ice and give it a good shake. And so I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to pop my cocktail lid on and then just shake it. And we want to shake it for about 15 seconds. And it's this lovely shaking. We're beating those eggs with all the ingredients in there. And it gives a lovely silky creaminess to this cocktail. And when you open it, you've got this almost yolky, yellowy colour to the drink. And I'm just going to pour that now straight away into my lovely chilled glass. And you can see there, we've just got this decadent mix of liquids there. And it's, as you can see, it's almost eggnoggy. And this is kind of where eggnogs originally came from, was these flip cocktails. And so all I'm going to do to mine now is just add a little tiny sprinkle on top of a nutmeg, ground nutmeg. And nutmeg's historically an incredibly important spice, and it's sort of one of those spices that was sold, they sold the whole of New York, Manhattan, for an island in the Asia Pacific. And it was this island that basically they sold, the Dutch bought it, and they bought it from the British, and their price was New York, and it was called New Amsterdam originally, and then it became New York after selling it. So this history of this nutmeg is just amazing. And so flips, these are delicious ancient drinks that go back to this sort of idea of sailors in the 1600s, and they would have this mixture of hot ale, rum, molasses and egg. And for 2 centuries you had mentions of this from the 1600s up to the 1800s. It then kind of starts changing, and it comes back to the British taverns and American taverns, and then it started having sherry and cognac and gin or brandy in it. And so this is kind of a brandy and sherry one combined, and we've got that lovely amaretto flavour, that almond flavour coming in, all of those mixed fruits from the mincemeat coming in, and then a lovely dark raisin undertone from the sherry. And yes, this is our last drink of the night, and so I'm going to raise a glass and say a very, very happy Christmas. Thank you for choosing Stir Crazy, And here's to a great new year, and have a fabulous Christmas day. And I hope you enjoy your Yuletide flip. Thank you and good night.